Good morning. Welcome to the Buddhist temple of Toledo. Please be seated for liturgy. Down Nikaya 3 Refuges. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. I take refuge in Sangha. The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. This precious human life, rarely encountered, is easily lost. Now that I have life and opportunity, may I practice the Dharma wholeheartedly. Mahayana refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate great suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened. May their vows be completely realized, and may I cultivate these perfections with their guidance. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred, being close to some and distant from others. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from suffering and the causes of suffering. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. Please stand for the Heart Sutra. Great Prajna Paramita Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing deep Prajna Paramita clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Jari Pudra form is no other emptiness, emptiness, exactly form, sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness are also like this Shari Putra. All things are essentially empty, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on, to no thinking, no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, and so on, to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, path, no wisdom, and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by prajnaparamita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond delusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by prajnaparamita, attaining anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajnaparamita is a great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the prajnaparamita mantra, set forth this mantra, and proclaim Gate Gate Para, Gate Parsam, Gate Bodhisvaha, Gate Gate Para, Gate Parsam, Gate Bodhisvaha, Gate Gate Para, Gate Parsam, Gate Bodhisvaha. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. All that is and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We offer this sincere and devoted practice for the many beings of the sixth world, and we dedicate it in grateful thanks to the strength and sound practice of the great Heartland Sangha and its teachers. May our virtuous action be clear from all interferences, and may our vows be fully realized. We especially dedicate these merits to Kaylin, Gokyo, Jimmy, Matt, Steven, Silke, Roger, Debbie, Fukan, Sister Suzette, and Shauna. May they have peace and healing. And to Kendall, Charlie, Buddy, Joanne, Sandra at the time of their deaths, and those names we hold in the silence of our hearts, as well as those whose names we now voice aloud. Kids in grammar school teachers can head toward the red room in the back, and everyone else, please prepare for self-assessment. Please be seated, facing the front. Oh, sorry, Governor, sorry. We, the Daishin Kokuji Sangha, with respect to the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Please be seated, facing the front.
So good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? So when Kaishan said, oh, we'll just sit on cushions, I had forgotten I hadn't sat cross-legged in a while. And now it's like, oh my God, what did I agree to? But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So today, as previous Shusos, we're going to talk about being a Shuso. In light of our experience, and of course the fact that Kensei here will be our Shuso for fall. So what does that all entail? And let's try not to scare her too badly. So Shuso has a long history. It's a formal position in Zen Sanghas. It has been in existence for like 900 years. There are records of it in the Chinese texts from the 1100s. A student is assigned for a limited period of time, and that varies. In our Sangha, it's an ango, so it's typically a period of about 3 months. During this period, they are the model of practice, the model of stability, and the source of encouragement for all other students, so no pressure. And Shuso translates to chief disciple in the sense of a practitioner of the discipline. So not in the sense of having a guru, but in the sense of practitioner of the discipline. You are the example of this. Also translates to head seat, first seat. So Kamango, Kensei will occupy the first seat. The rest of us will move a seat down, and she will sit there through the entire ango. And she will have a little plaque saying, head seat, is what it says?
It says a bunch of stuff. Shuso, chief disciple, head seat. Yeah.
And of course, it's a mark of maturity of a Sangha that we can actually produce a homegrown Shuso, and that the teachers and the Sangha are at a level of integration where we can actually offer these empowerments and initiations. So it's a mark of the depth of the teachers and of our community, because the Shuso obviously comes from the community. So without community support, there is no Shuso. And a Shuso's practice, like anyone's practice, is for the community, It's certainly part of a Shuso's training, individual training, and spiritual development, but it's also part of all of our training as we go through this initiation. And of course, the foundation of all of our practice is Bodhi mind, right? The mind of awakening for the sake of all beings. And here now it is being manifest in this particular way. So yes, it's an individual experience, and yes, it's for everyone. We all participate in this. We talked in the Lama Room this morning about the importance of good spiritual friends, and the Buddha saying that spiritual friendship is the entirety of the path. And that really manifests very visibly in the Shuso formation process.
So some of the conditions under which a Shuso actually emerges within our community. So it does grow out of the maturity of the community, and there are steps that, because we are such a young community, sometimes things seem to be behind more of a veil of mystery than they actually are, because it's our first time or 2 or 3 through it, or maybe because we don't have it on a postcard that's out in front of out at the welcome table that new people join the community. They don't necessarily know how these things emerge. So there's a minor disservice in the current 3 Shusos for communicating this, in that everyone so far has been wearing a black robe, and that is not part of it at all. This is not tied to the priesthood in any way, shape, or form, although we have a postulant about to serve as a current Shuso, and Shokai served as our first homegrown Shuso as a novice, and I was fully ordained when I was called upon to be Shuso. But in the fullness of time, and I kind of feel like it's our last major puzzle piece in the fullness of the training mandala, that we have a lay shuso, someone who is in the gray robe rather than the black. So if there is a path, and there's limited value to talking about this type of path, one would be a member. One would have taken Jukai. Invariably, the ethics and the precepts are underneath every empowerment that exists. When you ordain, you take the precepts. When you receive Denkai, you take the precepts. Denbo is the precepts, and on and on and on. And when you die, they give you the precepts. And so this is important that we anchor all of this in the ethics. But then after Jukai, at some point, a person would become a Shoken student. And the reason that pathway is part of it is a Shoken student sees that the project of awakening, as is laser-driven in the Zen school, is primarily accomplished through intensive retreat, because within that intensive retreat, there is stacks and stacks and stacks of Zazen. And washed in that Zazen, we go to Dokusan. We show up in front of the teacher and we present our mind, clear, chaotic, bag of cats, doesn't matter. I have an answer, I don't have an answer. You show up, you dive deep, looking for nothing, and then you present your mind. And over time, a clarity may emerge. It does for all of us all the time. There was no flash of clarity. None of us would have felt called to stay here any amount of time. But with the practice, with the settling, those flashes happen more often, and there becomes to be seen by the teacher, whether we recognize it or not, an integration of the practice that is reflected in the way that the practitioner works with the teachings, the different forms and disciplines that we utilize. And for the part of the student, that's as much as you can do. The shuso, well, let's say membership, you ask to be a member. Jukai, you ask for that. Even ordination, maybe it's both ways, but there's a clear desire that gets manifested. Either it's you asking or things coming up organically in conversations. But the shuso is tapped. The surest way to avoid ever being shuso is to ask to be shuso. Because in the lineage of the teaching, the clarity and the clarity needed to be trusted to have something useful to say about the Dharma isn't necessarily something we can entirely recognize in ourselves. It does need to be seen by our teacher. They are better suited to recognize if they're, how healthy or unhealthy the self and the ego that is behind this desire to awaken may be. And the Dharma spoken in a way that is not selfless, or is at least the Dharma spoken for the person speaking it, that's poisonous, whether we recognize it or would not. Even if the words are clear and pretty sounding, they don't do the speaker good, and they don't do the Sangha good, This is why Zen is very wary of words. Not that we don't want to use them, but they are laden with traps. So there is a nice service that is done by the upcoming Shuso to be put on this hot seat. Because this clarity does not also equate to just how long you've been in the room with the Sangha. And the first two homegrown Shusos have been here longer than anyone but the teachers. And so that could miscommunicate. And I've known many of you longer than I've known Kensei. But the teachers look and they say, clarity, depth, let's test this. And so what it is and what it is not always very obvious. And when we bring this person forward and ask them to act as the senior, they have a practice to engage in, to refine their depth of clarity, and it gives us a practice to engage in. Okay. My senior for 2 months, everyone's senior but the teachers, for 2 months in our model, very consciously. So a little bit about the process. That's you.
So what is Shuso training like? The teacher has tapped you, you said yes, now what? And Shuso training is really very organic, and it's totally impersonal and totally personal also. The way each of us engaged or were engaged by the teachers in Shuso training was different. We have different personalities, we have different blind spots, etc. So it is very personal. And there's a lot of, I remember Dawn saying to me, let's see. And of course, there's a lot packed into that, let's see. You have no idea what's coming around the corner. But there's also certain prescriptions and expectations that are there that you kind of can predict a little bit. So before I entered the Shuso process, Dawn said that I would have hers and Rinson's glaring eye upon me. And I can attest to the truth of that. That was very, very true. You never know when your practice will be found wanting. You never know when you'll get a hey, well done, unexpectedly. And you never know when you're going to be put on the spot. And a lot of Shuso training has to be on the spot, now respond in this moment. And really, what a gift that we have teachers who are willing to invest themselves in our training like that. Because that kind of training, as most of us can attest, isn't just reserved for the Shuso, right? We've all been on the end of that to some extent. So it's a very organic, natural process. And it really, Kaishin talked about being a Shokin student. It really has to have that foundation of a covenanted relationship with the teachers. There has to be deep trust there, because often you don't know what the hell is happening, and you really do trust your teachers. And they trust you. They're putting a lot of faith in you and faith in your interaction with the Sangha. So I remember Dawn saying that there's a lot of space for possibility, which is like, what an invitation that is, a lot of space for possibility. And she said that the training is led by the heart and by the Dharma eye, but that the heart leads. Again, quite a statement. Compassion always leads wisdom. And that was a profound part of Shuso training for me. So I did have some freedom. I was allowed to suggest the Ango theme, which was the paramitas, very dear to my heart. I was allowed to bring poetry into the Ango, which was like, I can't believe they're allowing me to do this. I suspect maybe Rinson wasn't as enamored with poetry as I am, so it was really a beautiful permission that I received. And of course, there were many moments of correction, and many moments of very public correction. And how do you respond to that? Because all eyes in the Sangha are upon you, watching how you respond to that. So in some communities, Shuso training is very harsh. I've heard of instances where people have done the Shuso training, gone through the whole process, and left after, never came back. That harsh. And I think probably because, the ego can co-opt anything, including this training. No matter what level of training you're at, the ego can just clench around it. But we don't do that in our Sangha. Our Sangha, it's led with a lot more kindness and humor. And yeah, there are moments of sternness, for sure, which I tend to remember those moments of sternness, maybe, more than the moments of, it's okay, don't worry, it'll be fine. And am I still going here?
Could be.
I am, okay. So what looks different? What looks different? So the most noticeable difference for a Shuso is that they're empowered to sit up here and give Dharma talks, okay? And there are levels of Dharma talks and gradations of empowerment in given Dharma talks. It is not random as to what you can come up here and speak about. So the Shuso is given derivative authority from the teachers to actually speak on the Dharma. And that's really important. You are speaking on behalf of the teachers. You are representing the teachers. You are not an independent teacher. We have no independent authority to speak. It's all derivative.
There's that phrase I remember Rinsen using is participating in the teachings of the abbot. Everything in the lineage, everything kind of rests on that seat and flows out of it.
And it's really great training for the Sangha to see one of our own being empowered and initiated in this way. We have trained with these people. We've seen them make mistakes. We've seen them at their best. We've seen them at their worst. And they are receiving this empowerment. Anything is possible for any of us. And as the years go by, as Kaishin mentioned, the bench will deepen. There will be many voices that will speak from this seat, which adds vitality and aliveness to the words. And this invitation to all of us, that all of our voices matter. We are all, in our own way, proclaiming the Dharma.
This is particularly useful, too, within our training, especially if this is the only place of training that you've ever had, and you came in, and if your entry gate had any part of this, Rinsen and Doan are just amazing, and I'm hooked on every word kind of thing, that's wonderful, but all of the tools are just, to get us into the seat of practice. And the charisma and the personal affinity for individuals over time can get in the way. And it's nice within a maturing community that you do start to see the choir broadening, as it were, the bench deepening. And it's also a sign that the seeds of what they're trying to communicate, they are recognizing that that is taking root. There's this component that comes up called the Sangha blessing. This does not happen without the Sangha blessing. And it's not a moment per se. We could say the Dharma combat moment is a very visual sign of the Sangha blessing. But the fact that this is the soil and the branch and the root that everything in this community grows out of. What did we used to say? Brought to ourselves by ourselves. This is the Shuso emerging.
So you will see the Shuso take the high seat here and give talks. And there are physical markers of being Shuso also. There's the blue Raksu. So Kensei will have to sew another Raksu. In our community, it just happens to be blue because of the history of our teachers.
Can I tell the history? Oh,
Please.
I love
please.
history. So, in other traditions, even within North America, when someone takes Jukai, they sew a blue or slightly different colory Raksu. And in that community, if they see someone with a black Raksu, they would think you're ordained. The robe is the robe. But in our teacher's history, one of the moments of opening up of their ability to deliver the Dharma fell at the time that they were training with Miyotai sensei. And Miyotai, for her reasons, wanted to do Jukai again. For almost all of her students had followed her from ZMM. So they had done Jukai, they had Dharmanins, they had a black Raksu. And her affiliation, particularly with water, gave her this sense that I want these students to sew the Raksu in blue. And what fell at almost that exact same time was the first Shuso she empowered. It was Rinsen. And if you've ever noticed we have a podcast, some of that has brought many of you through these doors. He began his teachings and he began the podcast as a way for his teacher to hear at great distance how he was doing with his teaching empowerment. And as a nod to that part of our lineage, they said, well, then Shusos in our community will sew a blue Raksu.
And of course, the other physical marker is the fan. And this is given to the Shuso at the Shuso Hosen ceremony. And Kaishin is going to walk us through what that entails.
Yeah. Whatever November session is, the Sunday of that is a special ceremony called Shuso Hosen. It's very much like an ongo closing ceremony plus. This is the moment of the lineage empowerment for the Shuso. There are ceremonies done at the abbacy with the Shuso and the previous Shuso and the teachers, and there'll be a very specific, not this fan, that they carry for the ceremony. And it's just this beautiful, this beautiful tradition that goes back, again, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And what ends up happening is the procession begins from the abbacy. So again, our abilities to practice in traditional forms is further empowered by this space that we find ourselves in. And the procession proceeds through the woods, starting at 11 o'clock there, as you guys start at 11 o'clock here, with the densho ringing, and then slowly we hear the jisha bell in the woods, and the staff in the woods, and the drum plays back. And within the ceremony itself, we'll see the Shuso take the seat up front as the teachers orchestrate and watch from the back, and they will give a teaching, their first real teaching. Now, these Dharma talks, which are gradated, that's what you are given into. This is the moment of the test that you've lived up to, which is why you're in the test. A black belt never takes the black belt test until they're already showing up as a black belt kind of thing. And so they walk in here, and they don't give a Dharma talk, they give a teisho, the presenting of the shout, the reality. And the first time they see the case they will teach on is when they're sitting here and they open it. So good. It's such a wonderful moment. And it's a case they've seen because koan training is part of the work towards shuso. There's a certain point in your koan training that you have to have reached, in addition to them seeing the maturity and the integration and the disciplines taken on. And they give a very short Dharma talk, and they throw, or Teisho, and they throw out possible arrows for you to engage in. And then at the conclusion of this, everyone is invited to come forward, and just as we do in any Dharma combat, if you've never seen one of these, they're awesome. Some people don't like combat, they'll say Dharma encounter, but you come forward, and it's almost like public Dokusan, but you're engaging around what was just taught. And it is the first opportunity to, in a very dharmic, like full intensity kind of way, to engage with this person. This is a very specific moment of Sangha blessing. If you can get in the line, get in the line. Just like Dokusan, I don't know what I would say. Get in the line. Because at the Shuso Hosen ceremony, it's for the perspective Shuso that you do this, not necessarily for yourself. And the ceremony around it is absolutely beautiful. To even be able to read the case and engage the community, the student, the Shuso, circumambulates the teacher's seat at the back, and they receive this stick, this beautiful black and red lacquered staff, which is cut from a samurai's bow, and it is the symbol of the authority of the abbot. And this one ceremony, only when a new Shuso is empowered, this one ceremony is the only time it shows up. Okay? And they sit here and they hold it, and they hold their ceremonial fan, and they engage. And it's this beautiful moment, and this teacher hopefully arises. The ceremony will fall. They will become a senior, and hopefully if they do a good enough job, it won't be the last time they're asked to come up front. That's always held out as a possibility. And then at the conclusion, and very interestingly too, because this is still derivative authority, this is not transmission, at the conclusion of all of this, they bring the stick back, and that which kind of was the line, that which came out of the Dragon Hall, I returned to the Dragon Hall. And then they're given the blue Raksu, and the fan that they have to kind of carry with them when they're in ceremonies, again, as a totem, as a symbol of this is their role within the community. And for many, many, many years, I used to say it, because I believed it, but I'd also heard it somewhere, that Oryoki and Sesshin is the most elaborate ceremony that we do. And then we did a Shuso Hosen ceremony. And it is singularly one of the most beautiful things. This experiment of holding the flower to the rock, will the Dharma take root? In America, yes, but particularly the Midwest, this seems to be the real laboratory where this is happening. When this ceremony unfolds, probably more than most other moments, there is a new root that digs itself into the rock. The transmission of the Dharma in the West, and that it will survive and propagate far beyond any of us, statistically becomes more likely at that moment. Definitely come, November session.
So one of the aspects of the ceremony, and it's a really involved ceremony, it is like requires so much precise timing, One of the aspects I love is that the previous shuso is always the liturgy coordinator for the next shuso. So I've talked too much this morning. I'm not used to it. I was Kaishin's shuso.
Shika.
Shika,
Yeah.
right. And then Kaishin will be Kensei's Shika. So it's rather a lovely thread that we pull through. So what happens after the ceremony? Well, you go back to your business, right? There's a lot of integration with the support from the Sangha and the guidance from the teacher. Business as normal, right? Just like, you get married, you have your honeymoon, and then you come back and, you got to make breakfast and clean the house. So back to normality. But there is a shift in relationship in the Sangha. Just like when you take Jukai, there is a shift in your relationship with the Sangha. When you take Shokan, there is a shift in your relationship with the Sangha. And when you're a Shuso, there is also a shift. And of course, it's a great responsibility to be Shuso because you are working with the authority of the teachers, and it's also completely ordinary, just completely ordinary. You're just doing what you've always done, right? Maybe people are holding you to a little higher standard, and maybe, that's a source of motivation, who knows?
There is this thing that they say about the Shuso is expected to make their practice more visible to the community. And that very much is different. It took us a couple of Shusos to realize that making your practice more visible doesn't actually mean more things, but it does look different from Shuso to Shuso. Being a distance member, I couldn't be in that seat at every service. And just practicing with that and practicing well with that for the community was very important. I had blogged at one point just about my experiences in Aikido and my early practice in Zen training, and with the teacher's permission, that was one thing I did is I returned to that blog and just said, hey, what's going on for me in my practice right now? Nothing special, I'm not talking about like cases and koans and such, but just what it is to be a high school teacher and father of two, and life, to be a professional at life.
So Shuso training is intense, and it can, in moments of correction, it can look kind of very stern for those looking on. But what is all of our training about? And Shuso training is no different. It's just training in being completely yourself. It's not, obviously you need to know the forms and that, but the essence of the training is expressing your Buddha nature, right? And Doan said, I don't want to misquote her here. She said, this empowerment and initiation doesn't come from the top down. It comes from our own presentation of our life as a bodhisattva, from our own presentation of our life as a bodhisattva. And it is within the mandala of the Sangha and the lineage. It's contained within that, but it's totally personal and intimate and impersonal at the same time. Also, just to stress that being Shuso is not a credential of spiritual authority. There is no transmission involved here, but it is an expression of your own Dharma eye and of your own practice. And this is blessed by the lineage. It is an empowerment. So, what comes after Shusos? And a lot of mistakes, a lot of what we've always done, moved in and out of roles in the Sangha. None of that is different. And of course, a lot of vulnerability and heart and practice. As an encouragement to Kensei, I put down the old familiar challenge that I think we've all encountered, and that is trust yourself. Trust yourself. So, of course, when I was looking at this, I I resurrected the poetry at during my ongo, so I really feel I need to bring forth a poem for Kensei, and in fact for all of us. It refers to all of our practice. And this is The Wild Geese by Wendell Berry. Horseback on Sunday morning, harvest over, we taste persimmon and wild grape, sharp, sweet, of summer's end. In time's maze over fall fields, we name names that went west from here, names that rest on graves. We open a persimmon seed and find the tree that stands in promise, pale in the seed's marrow. Geese appear high over us, pass, and the sky closes. Abandon as in love or sleep holds them to their way. Clear in the ancient faith, what we need is here. And we pray not for new earth or heaven, but to be quiet in heart and eye, clear. What we need is here.
Clear in the ancient faith, what we need is here. May it be so.
Thank you for joining us today. That concludes